Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Pfeffer, the managing editor of Dice News, and we're here today with Dawn Rasmussen, who is going to work with an actual job seeker to see how they can improve her resume. Dawn, why don't you introduce yourself and introduce our guest?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Dawn Rasmussen. I'm with Pathfinder Writing and Career Services in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a professional resume writer. And I had the honor of meeting Kim through the magic of social media. She attended an online job fair with Women for Hire, and I provide some job search advice and career resume advice during the session. And so when we were talking about doing some kind of accomplishments discussion here on Dice, she volunteered. So I'm real excited to be working with her. She's going to be targeting a project manager position. And Kim, do you want to say a couple words? I'm going to switch over to her resume while she's talking.
Hello, my name is Kim Dildy. I'm currently seeking a position in project management, and I have a master's degree in project management. So I'm excited to find a job in that field.
Great. And so I pulled up Kim's resume, and I just think in the interest of time, we've just taken a couple sections of her resume and what she supplied as part of the before part. And so this is going to be a live demonstration of how to really get into talking about the accomplishments. So what I'm going to do is ask questions of Kim that are really focused on accomplishments. And a lot of times job seekers, no matter what field, if you're in a technical field or any other field, we get so caught up in a lot of the jargon and we forget to talk about the so what. What's the story there? Now, employers are definitely trying to find out what you've done at previous employers so they can make a decision of what you've done for what you might be able to do for them. And the issue is if you're just talking about your job duties, not really talking about your accomplishments, then that's kind of like snoozeville for the potential employer. What you want to do is to really capture their attention and find out, from yourself, try to divine what it is that you've done, what kinds of problems have you solved, how have you made it better, and tell those stories in your narrative underneath each job record. And so what I'm going to do with Kim here is to kind of parse out. You can kind of see she's really talking about a lot of job duties in her information that she supplied in her original resume. And what I'm going to do is ask some questions to see what we can do to try to pull out some additional value and show those accomplishments. So you ready, Kim?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to just take her first employer, Zapier. She's been a global sourcing analyst and global sourcing. Now, you also worked as a SharePoint trainer as well, correct? At that company. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to show you a quick little thing. What you probably want to do is list both jobs underneath here and then put the dates, because that more clearly shows the career progression here. And so what you'll want to do is, you want to move your employment dates for each position underneath the job. And so that shows the career progression more clearly here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so what we could do is now we're kind of moving things together. So you see how I pulled everything up under one, so it looks like one job. One thing I like to do is to create a little bit of a hook paragraph. This is where you can get in some of the information that you want to get across about your job duties. So it's a nice way to position your background. So maybe if you want to tell me a little bit, Kim, about your career at this company. So you were progressively promoted, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why do you think you were promoted?
Probably on just my job performance and some of the accomplishments.
Okay, and so what value do you think you brought in from your job performance? I mean,
Probably.
Why do you think? What did you achieve that got their company's attention?
Probably my work with SharePoint. It was a new application, and kind of I self-taught myself on how to use the application, and sharing that knowledge with other employees to kind of save time. Everything was online.
So you were helping. Mm-hmm. You were helping other people with the application. So you're helping train other people. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we could say promoted into greater responsibility. Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna try to type fast here. And so this is a way to kind of tell the story. This is a part of the accomplishments part, because we call it the hook part of the paragraph. And so this is important so you can position your background towards where you want to go, but also tell a little bit about the story of your career at the previous company. So what we want to try to do is to tell a little bit of that story. And so you were promoted into greater responsibility and recognition for knowledge sharing, on the job knowledge sharing. Does that sound all right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good job. Knowledge sharing and helping other staff, and was it an efficiency kind of thing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Their efficiency levels. Okay, so you can see that right now we've already given her resume a little bit more value because we're talking about why did she get promoted. Obviously we're pointing it out, but it's important that she spelled that out a little bit more. And then, so the next piece of this overview paragraph is also to talk a little bit from the 10,000 foot level. You said you want to go towards a project manager position, right, Kim?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so from a project management standpoint, what do you think, what parts of your job encompass project management aspects? We want to kind of come up with a brief summary that talks about the areas that your job and jobs at this company touch that would be relevant towards project management. You probably had some projects that you managed, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me from a project management standpoint, what kinds of jobs what kind of things did you do in terms of project management? So you maybe oversaw what aspects of project management?
I would say our whole pricing piece, as far as getting the pricing from our vendors. And
vendor pricing?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a management aspect? So you oversaw projects including vendor pricing management?
Right, yes.
Okay, and including, and then in timelines, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And budgets?
Yes.
And resources. Does that sound right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so those are key project management. So do you see how we're starting to position Kim's background towards where she wants to go, but it's also pulling from her current background. Anything else you want to say about your background and the things that you touched on in terms of project management?
Let's see. Pricing was really a key piece, and also with vendor management as far as getting the vendor contracts.
Mm-hmm. And so what did you do from a project management standpoint that with the vendor contracts? So you let's say you administered vendor contracts, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
And kept timelines, and we may have to do some wordsmithing, but the idea is on track according to deliverables, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. According to project deliverables. Now, I'm just going to end this overview just because I want to get into the a little bit more of the meaty stuff here.
Okay.
And so this is a nice way, again, so you can kind of cover some of your job functions in this paragraph. If you're working on this section, it's the hook. Like I said, you talk a little bit about if you were promoted, if you were hired for the company for a particular reason, or if there's a problem you're tasked with. Create a hook, number one. Number two, then create an overview of what did your job encompass, the job functions. Now we're going to go into the next section. We're going to call this top contributions. And so this is a little bit of the harder grueling part of the process. So we really want to do is still delve in. So what did Kim actually do on the job besides just the job duties? What's the so what? What did she do to improve things? So I'm going to kind of break these out, and we'll just walk through these, Kim, and maybe you can give me some more details that we can dive into to really come up with some results. So I'm going to ask some more questions, and you may start talking. I may interrupt you, but this is how I dig down to get the meaty stuff. I call it badgering, but in a nice kind of way, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so when you say that you deploy project management methodologies to ensure the project plans are established and tasks are completed on schedule, within scope, and all that kind of stuff, how did you perform? I mean, basically you managed the projects, but on average, I mean, can you give me some examples of some wins that you had that maybe there was an obstacle in the way? So maybe there was a vendor contract that didn't go very well, or maybe there was a challenging person at the vendor. I mean, what you're trying to do is to show how did you negotiate around some of these difficulties or improve these processes to achieve what? So can you think of anything right off the top of your head that, maybe there was something that kind of became the wrench that got gummed up the works here? So I'm sure something comes to mind, and obviously you want to not say who, if there was a specific vendor or something like that, don't say who that is, but we can try to explain that. So can you think of something where you rescued a project or fixed something or made it came in a little bit under budget or something like that?
I would say probably one of the biggest issues was with pricing, getting the pricing from the vendor.
Okay.
We did it at, all times of the month. So what I tried to do is set up a standard process. So pricing would have to be in by the 15th of the month in order to be in effect for the first of the next month.
Okay, so you resolved the vendor pricing issue by establishing a standardized pricing process. Does that sound right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so what was the vendor pricing issue? Was that costing the money, or was it causing time delays that cost the company? So tell me a little bit if we can try to quantify that.
I would say it was costing the company money because the pricing that we had in the system wasn't accurate with what vendors were charging. Okay, so
do you have a dollar amount? I mean, I don't know how you are, a percentage. If there's some way, what and how long within it? It was costing the company $15,000 per year or something like that. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm. I don't know the exact dollar amount. But probably more on a percentage level, the amount of errors as far as, pricing.
Okay, and so what was the percentage of the error rate then?
Probably, I'm just guessing, maybe like 10%.
Okay, on error rate?
Right. Mm-hmm.
On pricing?
Mm-hmm.
Cost the company at 10%. I'm trying to think of how to word this. So resolved rate, okay, so basically we want to say something along the lines, resolve vendor pricing issue, which was costing the company a 10% error rate on actual pricing. Is that right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
By establishing standardized price schedule. Is that right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
What did that end up doing to resolve that?
Just having the pricing had to be in a certain time of the month. So it had to be in by the 15th of the month so it could be reviewed and approved by management in order to, be put on the system with pricing effective the first of the next month.
Okay, so let me just see if I could rephrase this here. Resolve vendor pricing issue, which was costing the company a 10% error rate on actual pricing by establishing standardized price schedule. Mm-hmm. And that expedited the approval processes for what?
For, pricing for the next month.
Price schedule, pricing, programming.
Right.
I know we got pricing in there a bunch of times, you guys, but this is kind of on the fly here. So now we see, are you seeing the screen there, Kim?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, does that look accurate to you? Now, do you see how I kind of bolded that? And do you see how that pops out? We want to make sure, and again, I probably need to do some wordsmithing here, but we want to try to make sure that this piece right here pops out. That's what the employer is going to read. If she's submitting her application or resume to someone who is considering a project manager, seeing something here that says that you resolved a 10% error rate on the pricing, that's pretty great. And so you always want to front load your accomplishments here so that those things stand out right immediately, because that's how people's, as they read down, they're always kind of going boom, 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 boom down each one of these lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you want to make it pop. Okay. So what else have you done? Let's try to come up with another example that would talk about maybe how you handled the scheduling. And, maybe there was a scheduling fiasco or something like that. From a project management standpoint, how did you get a project that landed in your lap that basically was way off kilter and you had to try to get it back on track as far as scheduling? Can you tell me an example of that?
Let's see. Probably with our office supplies.
Okay, so what was wrong with that schedule as far as the project management schedule for that office supplies?
There were like too many people ordering
Okay.
office supplies. So we kind of moved that responsibility to the executive assistants.
So you consolidated office supply ordering to eliminate inefficient requests that ended up costing the company more money because people didn't know what the other person was ordering, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so that was a cost issue as well, is that right? Because
yes.
Do you know how much you cut costs by?
I would say at least 30,000
per year?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, that's huge. That's great. Okay, so you cut office supply costs by $30,000 per year by consolidating ordering to eliminate inefficient requests.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty good. And so then you said you set it up so that the administrative assistants were only ones in charge, is right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right.
Streamlined our established administrative assistants as the control points. Ordering control. Ensure orders were processed efficiently. Okay, you see how that works? Is that you're reading the bullet here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, you see how that works as well?
Right. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to keep going here. And this is good practice for everybody to start thinking about things. How did you make money? How did you save money? And how did you save time? So, okay, Kim, let's keep going. What other things have you had any changes in projects where perhaps the customer changed things from the original scope and you had to make adjustments? Can you think of anything along those lines? And how did that throw things off? Like maybe their requests changed things so much that, the cost changed or something like that.
Right. Trying to think. Maybe with.
Go ahead. Okay, keep going.
Now I was thinking with our we had something called supplier scorecards,
mm-hmm.
where they, we would kind of rate things we did for them, things they did for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to really get, I guess, a more, accurate idea, we implemented like a quarterly review.
Okay, and what were you evaluating to see to get an accurate picture of what?
I guess like our performance.
Your performance or their performance if they're suppliers?
Right. I guess it was like a two-way street. There were like, I can't remember exactly what it was like 4 bullet points, like cost, delivery, things along that line.
Would you want to tell me the 4 bullet points? So cost, delivery, and what else? Sorry.
I'm trying to think.
I was going to ask that.
I'm trying to think of what they were. They were called like our KPIs or key performance initiatives.
Okay, that's your 1 bullet: record and maintain KPI goals. So what were those goals? So you got, maybe let's not worry about those so much. Let's talk about what was the purpose of evaluating that. from the information you're gaining from those evaluations, what was the outcome? What were you hoping to do with that information?
To minimize issues, like if, something wasn't going right, to kind of, nip it in the bud before it, exploded.
Okay, and so when you say issues, and I'm going to keep digging deeper, so what issues were you thinking about? Were they your issues that you guys weren't performing, or the suppliers weren't performing? And how is that, if they weren't performing, then that impacted your ability, your company's ability, right?
Right. So
Okay.
like, it could be maybe like a delivery issue.
Okay. Okay, and the impacts to company operations, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And as a result of those scorecards, did you make any decisions about different suppliers that you're going to work with?
Oh, definitely, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so based on information, how many suppliers did you change out because of that?
2 major ones that I know of.
And based on poor performance?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is where I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. So I just changed that bullet. So you basically replaced a supplier based on poor performance after evaluating their scorecard to develop a better perspective and accurate picture of delivery issues and impacts on company operations.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how are you feeling so far? Are you feeling like you're starting to get some good meaty bullets here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. All right. So we kind of covered those. Do you want to talk about your reporting? Because obviously part of project management is reporting. So you created these reports, but what's the so what there? How did your reports help? Were these reports in existence before, or did you create these reports so they had a better snapshot of what was going on? Tell me a little bit about your reports.
Okay. I would say they were, new reports. It wasn't something that, they were doing previously.
Okay, so you developed new reports on project status.
Correct. Uh-huh.
To provide a global sourcing team with accurate updates of where the projects were.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see, project progress to goal. Okay. That's how many new reports do you think you created?
Let's see, probably about 3.
Okay, and was there any kind of reaction to these new reports? Did people find it helpful? Did they implement it across the company or anything like that?
Yes, they were helpful, and it was implemented in our sourcing department.
Later became implemented across sourcing. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go to this next bullet. Identifies and implements improvements to global sourcing business model. So how did you improve? What was it that you were improving, and what kind of gains did your company get from that improvement?
Let's see. Let me think of an example.
If you're stuck, we can go to something else. I think we're getting close to being done here.
Okay.
Are you stuck?
Yes.
Okay, we'll just skip that one. Okay, and let's see here. All right, manages contracts, NDAs, and pricing. We kind of talked a little bit about that, but is there something you want to say as far as compliance? That had something to do with all the contracts were in compliance with company standard operating.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I would say with the contracts,
how many total contracts were you managing, so we can kind of put a scope on that?
Let's say about 25.
Okay, so with 25, do you know the value? Can you state the value, or do you feel comfortable stating the value?
I'm not sure of the actual value. I know they were like our top 25 vendor.
Okay, let's just say top 25 vendor contracts complied with company NDA,
Yes.
NDAs, and anything else to protect what? What were you trying to protect?
You know, like the confidentiality, especially like with a chemical company, you know, you have your formulas and things of that nature.
Okay, so it's confidentiality of price concessions and things like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that would be the major. That was
Okay.
kind of the major one.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm just trying to wrap it up here. So let's try to do this 500 employees on the SharePoint. This is kind of a big thing. So this helped, you were helping standardize Kaizen events. And what was the Kaizen event? Are those initiatives, you mean, versus?
Those events are like kind of improvement events, like for our manufacturing teams.
Okay. You standardized Kaizen manufacturing improvement events by training this employees on this functionality and SharePoint, right?
Right.
By providing training to 500 plus employees on SharePoint.
Right, because then, you know, it was a central location everybody could go to see what projects were open, you know, the status of the projects, who was, you know, working on the project, things of that nature.
Okay, so I just made another bullet there. So do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this SAP super user. So what's the so what here? How did that help?
Okay, with SAP, it was a, you know, new application for the company.
Okay.
And, you know, it kind of, you know, saved money, saved time, because we weren't using, you know, a real old system anymore, which was, you know, very, very cumbersome. So with the, you know, SAP, everything was, you know, more updated. You had access to, you know, better reporting.
Okay, so you earned recognition as an internally, as the newly earned recognition as newly implemented SAP super user for global sourcing. So your job, what did you achieve? So you helped do what? Identify what?
For, you know, applications that were used in sourcing. So I was asked to kind of test, you know, the applications.
Okay, let's see. Identified applications used in sourcing and asked to test those platforms to do what?
In order to, you know, process orders, to implement pricing, you know, to update vendor contact information.
Okay. And what else?
Run reports.
And what was the end result? Was this to help the company optimize operations? Was there efficiency improvement that they achieved as a result of that? You know, you were being the guinea pig there, right? Just running things. So you're making sure that the SAP had full functionality. You were optimizing the functionality of it to also boost your company's efficiency. And I didn't know if, since you went in and tested it, did you figure out which applications within SAP were going to be of most benefit to the organization?
Yes. Because we were able, you know, we were able to get rid of a lot of old applications and kind of, you know, move everything onto one platform.
Aging platforms. So you eliminated aging platforms.
Correct. Yes.
Inefficient, aging and inefficient.
Yes.
by acting as the new super user. Test, okay, so limited aging and inefficient platforms by tasked to identify I'm trying to type this really fast to process orders. So eliminating aging and inefficient platforms by acting as SAP internal super user tasked to identify global sourcing applications used to process orders. That's getting really long. So let me try to break that up a little bit.
Okay.
Are you following along? Does that look good so
Yes.
far? I mean, I want to make sure I kind of get that in there. That would be most efficient in optimizing operations. There we go. Does that look right?
Yes.
Tested order processing. Okay, so I just need to change the sentence. Order processing. Pricing implementations. I just have to switch this around. Implementations and vendor. What were you doing? Oh yeah, updates, contract updates, and reporting. Okay, and then to determine reporting to determine best. You were trying to determine the best functionalities to use, or the best functions to use for company.
Right.
During manufacturing process?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Mark, how are we doing on time?
A few more minutes, but you should probably wrap it up.
Okay. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything that's now bubbling to the top, Kim, that you're like, oh my gosh, I totally thought of something, and you want to include that? You do?
No,
Oh, okay.
pretty much covered, the key areas.
Okay.
The vendor management.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of take these. I can do a little bit more offline here, but so do you understand a little bit more when we start looking at this? This shows that it's a little bit more impactful of what your background is. So we kind of we've listed both of your jobs, and you'll need to fill in the accurate dates here for each one of your positions. So I need the for these two things, sorry. So we got the dates and the titles there. Then we have kind of the snapshot overview with the hook and the quick summary of her background. So we get out of the way some of the job tasks types of things here, sort of the snapshot. And then we go into your top contributions. I like using that terminology simply because, this is how you're saying, here's how I made a difference at the company. And, Kim, did you feel like you were boasting at all while we were talking?
Just a little, no.
You shouldn't. And really, this is my point is when I talk to people, they're a little worried about boasting. And I always say, you shouldn't feel like you're boasting. You're just asserting, here's how I helped. And if you can kind of take that perspective, this is Kim talking about here's how she helped. And she talked about the roles, all these different things that we discussed. I know this was pretty fast and furious, but it really talks about how she made a difference. And, companies, they pay attention. If we say cut office supply costs by $30,000 a year, that's going to get someone's attention. Same thing, replaced a bad supplier. And there obviously I could do a little bit more wordsmithing on these. This is the best as I could do on the fly, but we front loaded each one of these things, but it shows the value and the difference that she made. And are you starting to feel a little bit more confident about your background now, Kim, as far as it relates to project management?
Yes, I do.
Great. And do you have any more questions for me, Kim?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. Great. And Mark, do you have any other things?
No, I think you've done a great job here, the two of you, of clarifying all of the things that Kim's done. And, they really jump out more to a manager or somebody who's going to be reviewing the resume.
Exactly. That's my hope. And I think she feels more empowered saying, I can see the value of what I've done now. And that's exactly, if she can see it, then somebody else can see it too.
Great.
Glad to help, and good luck, Kim.
Thanks.